talking about how to keep steroid gains after you come off steroids. So the big secret, guys, is this. You cannot keep gains that you've made on steroids. I don't care what anybody says, all the bullshit you'll read about how, well, after you have the gains with the steroids, you have muscle memory, so you can rebuild it faster. Everything that you've heard about, well, you know, if you gain 30 pounds, you lose 10. Bullshit, okay? Everything you gain, you lose. And there is no way to get that muscle back unless you go back on the drugs that you were on to regain the muscle back. Plain and simple. Period. I don't care what anybody says. No post-psychotherapy, HCG, before, during psychotherapy. It doesn't work unless you have that steroid bound to the receptor and it's continually stimulating that receptor, and you have the training stimulus along with the recovery. You're not going to put that muscle back on or even come close to maintaining it. If you took a pro-hormone or whatever, or a steroid or whatever. Now, well, actually, let me back up a little bit. Let me go back to explain to you guys why I feel like this. So in 23, 24 years of training, and I used steroids heavily for a number of those years, and there were times that I decided to not take them anymore. There was actually this one point where I said, I'm going to clean. I'm not going to take them anymore, and I'm not going to, have some laying around, whatever. I'm just done. So here's what happened. I went through my, HCG during my cycle, keep your testicles working, etc. And then I made sure I had my post-psychotherapy, everything set up. I had my Novadex, Clomid, I had my HCG set up, and then even had something called triptorelin, which is like the newest thing that's like a one-shot thing that resets your body back on target. And I went through all of this, and I felt good for like a month. I was off in like a month, and I was like maintaining my gains. My strength wasn't really dropping. I said, this is it. I mean, I finally did it. I found the right combination for, to come off and maintain my gains, and this is the way it works. Second month came, I started to lose a little bit. It wasn't that noticeable yet, but I lost that fullness that I had on the steroids. So maybe like 5 or 6 pounds had come off, but I'd still maintained a whole bunch of that weight that I had gained during steroid use. Third month came. This is 12 weeks into being off. Everything. Clean. 100% clean. And then it drastically hit me like a sledgehammer. My body fat went up. My muscle came down. No matter how I dieted, how I did cardio, how I trained in the gym, nothing was keeping my body looking the way that it did 3 weeks before. It didn't work. And I had done my PCT right. I had done all that shit. And flat out, it didn't work. So now, fast forward, you got to wait 5, 6 months, depending on how long it takes your body to actually kick back in on its own. Some doctors will prescribe you HCG for that whole time, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the bottom line is you cannot keep the steroid gains. Now, from the aspect of how some of these guys are keeping them while they're going off, they're saying, yeah, well, I gained 45 pounds, I kept 40 of it. Let me tell you how they're doing that and why they're saying that. So I had a buddy who claimed, he always said, I'm off, I'm clean, I'm off, I don't take anything, blah, blah, blah. Well, his idea of off was a cc of testosterone a week and a cc of DECA. 400 milligrams a week was his idea of off, okay? And then he wouldn't tell anybody about it. Until one day we had to go somewhere, and he gets in my car, and he's Mr. Clean, he's off, he's not taking anything, and he pops a couple Primobolan tablets. Now, you can't even find those things anymore, but back then, you could get them. And I said, what are you doing? I thought you were off. And he goes, oh, it's just a little Primobolan. It doesn't really do it. It doesn't do anything. It's just, helps, helps you feel a little better. And like, you're still on a steroid. You're still taking something, and that's why you're not losing the weight. Yes, you may not be as big as you were, but you're not crashing and losing that weight because you're still taking 400 milligrams a week of injectables and 25 milligrams a day, twice a day of Primobolan. That's not off. That's a whole other stack. It's a whole other cycle. Or you get a lot of these guys that are like, well, I'm off. I don't take anything. I'm off now. Okay, what do you consider off? HCG, they consider that off. So now they're doing whatever their protocol is for that. HGH, okay, because that's not part of, the testosterone stuff that works on your HPTA. IGF-1, and clenbuterol. Okay, that is not off. That's a whole different stack. But you're still on drugs that are helping you maintain that muscle mass. So let this be a lesson to you guys. If you want to use steroids, go ahead and use steroids. If you want to go off steroids, go ahead and go off steroids. Do whatever it is that you want, that you feel is best for you, but don't break any laws, okay? Don't I'm not telling you to break any laws. But the bottom line is, if you think you're going to go on a cycle, and you say, I'm just going to do one cycle and that's going to be it, and whatever I gain from that will be more than I would have gained training naturally. It's never one cycle for anybody. Okay, one cycle will lead to another, because you cannot maintain those gains. As far as the muscle memory, like, people will be like, well, he's not lifetime drug free, he did steroids before, so it's easier for him to gain. No, you so don't get it. I wish that 90% of the lifters out there that shoot their mouths off would go on a fucking cycle of steroids so they could see how much they don't do what they think they do. About how they cannot keep the gains, about how they don't make you better when you stop taking them, about how they're not as powerful and won't make you a champion unless you're pushing yourself to the max and have the genetic capabilities to do it. Like, these are the things that you guys got to understand. There are upsides of steroids. So I hope this clears up to you guys for a fact. This is not my opinion. This is a fact. You cannot keep steroid gains when you come off steroids, no matter how hard you try or how good your PCT is or your diet or your training. Now, what I'm speaking from is experience. So what I want you guys to understand is things that you're told are not necessarily true. A lot of these guys, I'd say 99% of these guys in the gym fucking lie. Flat out. So they'll tell you shit like, I'm off, and they're on like 400 milligrams or something, okay? So just be aware, the things you have heard, this is what I'm here for. I'm actually here to tell you the truth about what's going on in front of you when you hear about keeping steroid gains. Fatty M said he watched the first 45 seconds, and he agrees to some degree, but he knows people that if they train and eat right can maintain most of it, but somebody who's already past their max potential, wouldn't be able to maintain their gains. Here's how it works. If you're 140 pounds and you go on steroids, you gain 30 pounds, you stop, you're going to lose the weight you gain. If you're 140 and you naturally go from 140 to 165, then hit the juice and go up 30 pounds, you're still going to lose that 30 pounds, which you'd be 165. So the muscle you built naturally will still be there. What's going to happen is after the steroid's not there working on the receptor, it's going to go back to the normal levels, and you're going to maintain there. Okay? And these guys that are telling you, again, well, they're able to maintain it, they're full of shit. They are taking something else that keeps the gains. That's how it works. It's once you put the steroid in and it causes an effect, when you take it out, the effect stops. You cannot stop that from happening. The anabolism drops way down and the catabolic hormones go straight up, and it throws your body out of balance. And it's one thing that it wants to do is get rid of all that muscle tissue it just built in a fast pace, because of the fact your body doesn't want it. It doesn't need it. You've forced it to happen. So when you pull out the thing that forced it to happen, it will immediately drop that muscle mass. There's nothing anyone can do about it. This one guy says he agrees with 80%. And Anthony Jones, he said he used HGH and kept most of his gains back in the day when he was cycling. Again, because you're taking something that stimulates the receptor, you're going to maintain more of your gains. You're taking HGH, another very powerful drug, and some people will say they react more powerful to it than others to keep the gains. But you're not natural. You didn't keep your gains. You're still on drugs. It's just a different drug. You're basically rotating the cycle into something else. And yes, I do believe HGH will help you maintain your gains, but that doesn't mean you're natural now because you're taking HGH and you're not on steroids. It means you're taking another stack to keep your muscle. So again, go off the HGH and go off of everything, and we'll see where, in 6 months where you wind up. Another guy on here, Reezy Beezy, talking about, one guy was on GH and he blew up, but after he stopped, he went right back down to the same size. There was another guy in here that talked about Anavar. Said that, most of the guys at the gym say that you can maintain 50% of your Anavar. Again, most of the guys at the gym, they're lying. If you take Anavar and you gain 10 pounds, you are not going to maintain 5 pounds of that when you come off. Not only that, you're not going to look like you're taking anything either. So who gives a shit if you have 5 pounds of muscle on your body if it's 5 pounds of shit looking that's on you? You're obviously taking steroids to look better. So if you take the Anavar and you look better and you stop taking it, even if you didn't lose any weight at all, you're not going to look the same. You're not going to have that hard, full, round look that steroids give you. So now, what's the point? You don't look any better. Now you just take up more space because your muscle is going down, your fat is going up, and that's why you maintain the weight. The problem is the Anavar doesn't allow big muscle gains. So if you have gained 10 pounds on an Anavar cycle, more than likely what happened when you came off that Anavar, you dropped 10 pounds of muscle and gained 10 pounds of fat. And lo and behold, the scale still says the same thing, but you look completely different. You actually look shittier because you don't have the muscle mass that you did when you were on the Anavar. Guys, women, kids, children, everyone, anybody else listen, cats, dogs, ferrets, whatever. You cannot maintain steroid gains without being on something. That's how it works. You cannot enter a drug into your body. It's like taking an aspirin. You can't take an aspirin on Monday and expect it to work till the following Tuesday. You have to take an aspirin every day. Once it's out of your system, it stops the effect of what it's doing. Whether it be cutting inflammation, whether it be killing a headache, whatever it is, that's how it works. When your body gets rid of it, because it's a foreign substance to your body, once it's gone, and the effects of it are gone. So, again, be very aware that these guys in the gym that are telling you, and I don't understand why so many guys on gear want to prove to so many people that they're natural and it's their hard work that's got them. You know what? Fuck that. These guys that are in the gym that wind up taking their test and they blast and cruise, and they swear that they're natural while they're cruising, are fucking cruising. They're still on drugs. So they're lying to your face because they're trying to make you look at them and say, wow, he did it naturally. He's better. And that's, again, comes down to this whole natural and unnatural, people arguing about what's better and what's not, and people being on juice looked down upon. If people weren't looking down upon those guys that are doing those plastic cruise cycles, they would tell you, when they're cruising, oh, I'm cruising on this. Instead, now they're like, oh, I'm natural and I maintain all this on my own with hard training and hard diet. Well, does that mean you didn't train hard, you didn't diet hard when you were on the juice? So you slack off when you're on the juice, then when you come off the juice, you train harder? No, it doesn't make any sense. What happens is you're afraid to tell people that you're still on, because they're going to be like, holy shit, you're on steroids still, you've been on for 6 months, you're going to die, you're going to have brain cancer, your head's going to fall off. That's why they do it. They don't want to hear the bullshit from the people about how they shouldn't be taking stuff. So they lie, and they say, I'm natural.